jen chang jen de lo na ro dang ma ba me la che je gam bo ba tu san she ya quan jen ga ma ba Chong ye ye ba ze na de da sa sa ban de ro ba so sa la cha ya che la nga nye be nya me ro pa bo ka so Lama Gyalpo Zeno Nandara Chenrezik Shano Gongye Gangbara Song Bayi Seno Gongla Chayin Me Badang Sende de ta che be gong chen nyen guo shen ba me ba chen je lo ma ge gong ji go so ba me na de Jondo so wan de be gong chen jo me mo ge je wa chen je la yang me gong jin ge je song ba shen kai sha to be so ma je te gan jo be guam je ja lo da ra de je lo nam do mo chu gu song ba je ma ye je ya ja wa la ma ga ro ba ja re gong je la kho ne ye me no ba je je la che wa gong da ya ma da me je ne ba la lo je jing sa da lang ye yon de ra do do ye chang ge gong ba nyo ra ta sho che zang che jian ne lo ma no ra wa che yin zhe ne xian bei yi xi do so ye la gong ge ba de ra wa rik be do ji xiao lang ge chan sa ra ban den sa we Lama Rinpoche da ge che wo ra ben de den yuan ca tin chen beo go ne ye dong de go song tok ye ngo do sa do so sung ba nga da wa lang son de bi go ne thu byu ko wa tang to do la tin ne go song hla ye nan ju cha wa ni yo pe na ne ta tang bo son de bi go ne thu byu ko wa te Tetal Sabe Lama Pangyo Chenrezik La Data Simjin Tamji Jinjin Jikwa Tang Loti Jikpe Jinde Che Shi Loti Ling Jurji Rick Tok Ji introduced in Nayana.
Lasa.
Rick Tok Ritok Covid Nele Dane Number Tamjin Shembe Salan Demal de Sol Nyambeke Dushi Goni Tacho Janji Mago Kundo Kar Dosanji Ola Jin Tuji Janjin Dola Zik Genezilla Chantalo Singit the Taji Len Jam Nyajik Dunso Yu Horsing Nama Jungenji Padu Jinu Ju Sen Chitang Song Yobadi Te Indu Kasola Sondip Singit Tella Ten Tenesa Sosuke Sem Ripate Chik do Tene Sondip Tizuvaina Monetane Sondip Tiki Chinap Latin Teni Chenrezik Nupal Ten Sondip Tiki Nupal Ten Ta Chenrezik Chinapte Tenden Yoktoba Tende Yungu Yode Yundi Telatene Soso Nyamni Gergazon Kina Tene Len Ja Len Yechik Len Dunsuta Soso Kande Chikitiso Yona Teta Sosik Nawa Te Manjurk Padula Teni Jinu Sona Yandiki Yode That Teta Chala Song Yob Capsanda Wajina Tami Mambo Chala Yuna Teni Tam Tusola Taptungo Yode Take a Tasumne Songwiki Losonda Yode Teni Te Tendola Toshin Nuna Stanyamne Sosowa Chinkin Ati Tendola Tando Yamandu Tani Nuna Galama Pamo Debig Potos the Hunan and Yobadi Slopon Daven Debig Nengag Toba Chenap so dead charging Chenap dem Sunday Chede Janang Legbe Yana Legbe Yana to Yurnyamos.
Then on the Yana Domba Dang, Tene Tata Natsuke Jachopa Pema Kopa, so the Sungamandova, the Choka Dupa, and one does The third of the 6 topics here, and the second part of the main practice, is the repetition of mantra. But this actually has 2 parts to it. The first is appealing to Chenrezik, or exhorting him through the repetition of prayer. And the second is immersing your body, speech, and mind in the yoga of the deity through through imagining or visualizing the emission and withdrawal of light rays while repeating the mantra. The first of these is the prayer or supplication. Now, continuing to imagine Chenrezik seated above your head and above the heads of all other beings, you then think that you and all beings, as if with a single voice and with all your minds equally focused to the same purpose, on complete and unreserved entrustment of your well-being in Chenrezik, pray to him. And you pray to him by reciting this stanza of praise or homage or prostration. But the purpose, what you are actually asking for, is that he lead you and all beings out of the 6 states of samsara to the state of perfect and omniscient Buddhahood. So thinking that you recite this praise as a supplication, then you recite the 4 lines, Lord, white in form, unstained by any defects, your head adorned by a perfect Buddha, you who gaze with compassionate eyes on all beings, Chenrezik, I prostrate to you. Now, in individual practice, you're free to recite those 4 lines as a unit as many times as you wish, 100 times or 21 times or 7 times or whatever amount you wish. Because the idea is that by doing so, you actually focus your entire being one-pointedly on supplication of a prayer to the deity, which actually causes your perception of the world to change. In other words, how you feel changes greatly. What happens, Rinpoche said, is that if you pray intensely and one-pointedly, the power of Chenrezik and the power of the prayer come together to actually transform your state of mind. In group practice, however, since everybody has to be on the same page, literally and figuratively, it's just recited 3 times. So those of you who are familiar with the practice will remember that it's recited 3 times. Now, there are 2 versions of this practice. The original version by Thangtong Gyalpo himself moves straight after this prayer to a description of the visualization associated with the repetition of the mantra, which is the next topic. But those of you who are familiar with doing this practice in a group setting will notice that a 7-branch liturgy and a supplication of Chenrezik written by the great master Padmakarpo is included in group practice customarily. The commentary doesn't deal with these because it's primarily concerned with individual or personal practice. And in personal practice, while there's nothing wrong with doing those, they can be omitted since they're not part of the original thing. However, Kachab Dorji says, I think that it would be not unfitting to add here any praise of Chenrezik or prayer to Chenrezik you wish. And he gives 2 other examples. One is the famous, it's called the Po praise, because every stanza, and sometimes more than once in a stanza, ends with the word Po, which means the doer, the one who does this, the one who does that. So it's simply called the Po praise. And it was written by the female Mahasiddha Lakshminkara, who's Gelongma Pamo, who was at one point a bhikshuni, so she's called that. And she's the founder of the Nyungne practice, so those of you who know it or would be familiar with it from the Nyungne. You can take that praise out of the Nyungne and do it with the short Chenrezik if you wish. Another one is the praise out of desperate remorse that was composed by the Chandrakirti, and that one also is recommended. In short, if you're on your own, you can include any other praises to or supplications of Chenrezik you want in between the reciting the stanza and then going on to the next part.
So adapting to you Kurvala Tini, that the Chipa Senatini, Sam Jan the Mayan Wachen. So the Bran, La Ripa, Kitikil and Joame Patabu, Nepatella, take you Basayori. Tetabuki, so adapting, genetic to you Kurvala Tini, Jibu Paku Kola was the Kado Ngadin Kapo She Chawa Bad Meban too. Dada Simkin Samjela Popa Samji Domeo Mambasawa Dal Rangin Jula Tomine Sapeke Samebangas, Tankoa Tomamebani, Sapeke Samebanga, Samebangate, Paseba Maseba, Tajamaseba, Javu calling a song Tajamba, Genu calling Tingasawa,
Larry.
Tetang, Luigi Goni, so Jebata, Majimba Lambata, Masawa Jobasam, Nag Goni, Parapola, Nopon Jobazin, Tamoso, Nawatan. Pension Jebbe Tama Yenge Hella Napa System Tome Jingajariki, Ye Goni Yenge Panjo Rana Chona, Yambeke Nasim Yena Hedang Kontu Semje Nasim de Nesim Dikwe Yemik Medinjing Mapal Tawa Lota de Sumta Miguel Joe.
Tell her, he Mompochedo.
Nope.
They none Kabum none yapa the Tarpe Penyon dong Dick Benjamin Nika Sondo.
Some the way.
And
Some
oh, lost.
Some Miguel Joe chanting in the W Gulf so young chicken that was somebody for the Bardor.
Me, the locked us and a Tarpe Penyon dong Dick Benjamin Nika la Yimichepa.
Yeah. Miguel Joe chanting tang, get a deeper tang. The chat shedon demon, I just tadog gone. Panja Tutum Jebatan, Majang, Niebetaldo, Yoba, Rangin, Kana Wantova, Toriji Devatan, Tapelam, Depan Jubik, Depa, so that Jansim, Shanghai Damba Lani, Magupatan, Pa Mepe Wang the Tangni, Masonwe, Nekap, Nyendu, Nyendor, Longan Jova, Jove Na, Tomatan, Slapatamu. Netang Slaba Tamu Netang Garwe Ngendor Matong Chancho between Yamara Chebaso Nebaso Mata Jing Lang Bedictip Nyomombe Jebenidon Jen Chebaki Tenila Ta Tomine Dakin Inangizongi Tubu Pacha Hijit Debatang Jeba Changni, Papa Chenrezik Kusong Soda, Yemi Rubber Change Labni, Papa Go, Thangtong Gyalpo, Tabu Lamte Chur, Nankatang, Yambe, and Doari took a net Tamje La Chap. Now, you'll Chenho Jing, Tamje, Omi Dewa Jinji come, Sado the Dag Ming Meba. Rinpoche dan Yao Sesik Rangi Nanju Dodo Simje Samje Rana Dongal Trote Lum Papa Tuji Kimbe Koro Lamji Chur Jung Gitata Samje Sangha Yituk me Rangda Wodo Tento Samjan Chocha Samje Papa Tok Rizon Yemi Marizon Yemi Ke Gomba Ngondo Jubar Sam Tetara Koda Shinkam so Shawa Tagwan Nawa Song Hajida Tore Ton Jamba Namja Dajin Lunga Yiji Nawa Nam Niso Making Zimbata Travel Londe Chabdar Chambo Lan Jopen Angto Stande Kodo Nawa Tamjela Taba Tamjinga Tendo Hig Robber Singing that on that double. Oh, Teta Goni, Teta Teddy sort up and Papa Cola was into Mada Lena Treshi Jachino, Deva Genjikin, and you gender Lunga Sam. Gender the one goes on to Nanda Riton Yemi Chur. You are Gender goes on. Nanda Riton Yemi Churchi, Jing, Gond the Shebe. Big Panam Sat Damne, amani pe me hon he de jo tanje ngo yir cha samade. Tega kasare.
No, de lascia non dico do. Now, the second part of this third part, Rinpoche said, don't think of it as a separate part. It's merely the second part of this third part. It's not yet the fourth part. So it's not a separate part, even though it is a separate part. And so the second part of the third part is describes what you imagine or think of, what you visualize before and during the repetition of the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. And it's given the title, the immersion of your body, speech, and mind in the yoga of the deity through the emission and withdrawal of light rays. At this point, whether you have just recited the 4-line praise repeatedly, or in addition have recited the 7 branches and whatever other praises, in either case, what you have been doing is praying one-pointedly to the deity. One-pointedly simply means without your mind straying from the act of prayer to something else. So you now think that something happens as a result of that prayer or through the condition of that prayer. What happens is that whereas up to now, the 5 colored light rays that have been steadily flowing from or emitted by the body of Chenrezi above your head and above the heads of all beings have, as we saw at the beginning, been helping you and all others and so on. What happens is these light rays intensify tremendously. They become a sort of a whole new level they take on a whole new level of intensity. And as a result, these light rays of 5 colors, primarily the color of the deity, brilliant white, like a snow mountain with the sun shining on it, now fill the universe, engulf everything and everyone. Striking everyone in the universe, they purify you and everyone else. So before talking about what you become as a result, the commentary goes through what it is that is purified. First of all, what does purify mean in this case? The analogy given is like a light being turned on in a dark room. So in fact, it's revealing what was already really there, but which was perceived in a distorted way because of the lack of light. But nevertheless, what is purified or removed is everything that is wrong with each and every one of us. So now is going to come a list of all the things that are wrong with us, not to make us feel bad, but just to point out that this can all be purified by doing this practice. The first thing that is cleared away by the light that comes from Chenrezi's body is all the imprints of all of the bad things that each and every one of us have ever done. Since samsara is beginningless, we have throughout beginningless time done just about everything wrong that it can be done. So even if we haven't done much wrong in this life, we can be sure that we've done these things in the past. And even though we may have experienced the bulk of the karmic repercussions of what we did in the past, there's still some imprint left. So there's still lots to clean away. To give you examples of the sorts of bad things that we've done, again, the point here is not to make us feel bad, but to remind us that this can be purified through this practice. So the first are the 5 actions of immediate consequence. Normally, when you do something bad, there are several results to everything we do, good or bad. And the most extreme result of any action is called the karmic ripening, which is when you are born in some future life as something because of what you did. So, for example, if you squish a bug, then at some point in the future, you are going to be reborn in a place where you are squished again and again and again for a very long time. That's just from squishing one bug. So, but in most cases, this won't happen in the next life. It'll happen later on. And even if it does happen in the next life, in most cases, you die, and then you go through an interval called the Bardor, which means interval, and then you're reborn. But there are 5 actions that are so strong in the imprint they make on you that you don't even go through a Bardor. As soon as you die in this life, you find yourself somewhere horrific. And these 5 actions are therefore called the 5 actions of immediate consequence, or 5 actions without interval. And they are to kill your father, kill your mother, kill an arhat, or a foe destroyer, to draw blood from the body of a Buddha with malicious intent. So in other words, if you're a Buddha's physician and you take a blood sample, that's kosher. That's not bad. But to do it, because you don't like the Buddha. And then the 5th one is to cause a fundamental schism in the Sangha. The 5th one you can actually only do during the lifetime of a Buddha. It only counts if you do it while the Buddha is still alive. After, it's really bad, but it's called a proximate action, not the actual action of immediate consequence. So those are the 5 worst things. But then there are 10 categories of actions that are perhaps more familiar to us. And there are 3 things we do with our bodies that are bad. The first is killing, and that includes, things like killing, so beating up and maiming and wounding and so on. The second is stealing, and the third is adultery. Similarly, there are 4 things we do with our speech that are not good. And these are lying, in particular harmful lies, lies that cause harm to others, such as lying to your teachers or to other ways, manipulating people through lies and harming them. The second is it's not exactly slander. It's divisive speech. It's breaking up friendships or breaking up treaties or so on and so forth, in order to cause harm. Divisive speech. And then the third is abusive speech of any kind, saying anything hurtful. And the fourth, and my favorite, is gossip, which basically includes almost everything else we say. So those are the 4 things we do with our speech. And then there are 3 things we do with our minds, which the first is covetousness, what others have, thinking, I wish that were mine, whatever it is. The second is malice, which is simply wishing that something bad would happen to somebody else, or actually planning something bad. And then the third is a wrong view. And that is described here in the traditional and precise definition of simply believing that the benefits of liberation and the defects of wrongdoing expressed in the teachings are not true. So in other words, disbelieving that the path works and disbelieving that what you do matters. That's a wrong view. So those are the 10 unvirtuous actions. Now those things, those lists, the 10 unvirtuous actions and then their worst form, which is the 5 actions of immediate consequence, constitute what we generally call wrongdoing. Some people translate it as sin. And these things are wrong whether you've promised to do them or not. I promise not to do them or not. So even if you haven't taken a vow not to kill, killing is still bad. But then there is also a second class of wrongdoing, which is violation of vows you've made. Now, if you violate a negative vow, like an evil vow, that's not a wrongdoing. But if you take a virtuous vow, like a vow to try to abandon mental afflictions. So the first thing mentioned here is, if you promise to try to overcome attachment, aversion, pride, jealousy, and stupidity or bewilderment, and then you make no effort to do so, there's not only the problem with the mental afflictions themselves, you have a double problem because you've promised to try to work on them. So in that way, any time we fail to fulfill a vow we make, especially a vow we take in the presence of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, then we have double wrongdoing. It's wrong because it's wrong, and it's doubly wrong because we promised not to do it. And these things will, all of these 2 categories of wrongdoing, both inherent wrongdoing, like hurting anything that hurts others, and wrongdoing because of commitment, not only leave imprints, which we think of as the karma, the action, the imprint of the action, but they also veil us. They make us stupider and more out of control, and make it distance us greater from awakening. The types of commitments that we violate depend upon what we've taken. So if we've taken the pratimoksha, or individual liberation vows, which start with the vow of refuge and then include the lay vows and then monastic vows for people who take those, or the bodhisattva vow, and the samaya vows of a secret mantra, any violation of these, usually out of either, our text says, irreverence or carelessness. There are generally said to be 4 causes of what is called downfall, which we'll get to in a minute. But he mentions 2 of them. One is irreverence, which means, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I know I said I would do that, but they don't really do that. I know lots of people who don't really do it. That's irreverence. And then the other one is carelessness, which is just forgetting to do the thing. It doesn't matter if I pay attention or not. Now, when you violate any vow you have taken through either of those, and it's a main part of the vow, that constitutes a downfall. A downfall is as bad as it sounds, in fact, worse. It means that it is a sufficient cause to guarantee rebirth in a lower state. And then there are minor violations, like where we break branch or minor parts of the vows we've taken. And those are simply called mere violations. They're insufficient to cause a rebirth, but they are sufficient to make us stupider, to further veil us or obscure us. So all of these imprints of wrongdoing, both things that are just wrong and things that are, in addition to that, wrong because we promised not to do them, all of these imprints that are present within us and all of the kleshas within us are purified in the instant that the light from Chenrezik's body strikes us. But not only that, what underlies all of that wrongdoing and all of those kleshas is purified as well. And that is a fundamental delusion. The delusion from which we suffer, which here is referred to as the cognitive veil, is fundamentally defined in our text as the continuous or habitual delusion of dualism, of dividing things into two parts. Specifically, us, them, me, you, self, other, and more subtly, perceiver or subject, and perceived or object. And the reason why this is delusion is because, as experience will prove, something that we think of as the subject in one moment will become the object in another moment. I might think of my body as me, but then if I think about me as my mind, my body becomes it. So in that way, this is delusion. And this is something that we have had throughout beginningless time and continuously reinforced. So that cognitive obscuration or cognitive veil, the emotional veil consisting of the mental afflictions and all the imprints of all the actions we've done are all swept away in the single instant when the light rays from Chenrezik's body strike us. This transforms us, blessing us, so that our body becomes Chenrezik's body, our speech becomes Chenrezik's speech, and our mind becomes Chenrezik's mind. So in terms of what you imagine that at that instant, your body is transformed into the body of Chenrezik. Appearance that is empty, like, for example, a rainbow. But it's not just you, because this light strikes each and every being throughout the universe. Each and every being of the 6 states, the hell realms, the preta realm, the animal realm, human realm, asura realm, and deva realm, is transformed into Chenrezik. And not only the beings, but the inanimate environment is transformed into the highest pure realm, in this case identified with Sukhavati, the blissful realm of Amitabha and Chenrezik. So that there is no longer any perception of ordinary earth and stone and mountains and rivers. Everything is in appearance precious, like jewels and gold and wonderful things, but not clunky and substantial. It is rainbow light or full spectrum, light divided into a spectrum, so spectral light, rainbow light, filled with, again, circles of rainbow light and rays of rainbow light, but that can manifest in the forms and shapes of things, but without solidity, without limitation. In that way, in that instant, each and every being is forever freed from all of their suffering, regardless of which of the 6 states they currently inhabit. Each and every being's body is transformed instantly into that of Chenrezik, and all of the sounds that there are, the sounds of the inanimate world, such as the elements, the sounds made by beings, including your own and others' human speech, all of it becomes the sound of Chenrezik's mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. And all of what was previously the impure delusion that inhabited the minds or was present in the minds of yourself and others is transformed into the revealed nature of Chenrezik's wisdom, which is awareness inseparable from its own emptiness. So in that way, you think that everything, you and everything and everyone else are forever transformed by this light. So that everything that appears to you is the realm and body of Chenrezik. Everything you hear is the sound of his mantra. And whatever arises in your mind is simply the natural display of naked awareness that is empty or is emptiness. And that in that way, there is no longer any distinction between you and others. Everyone's body, everyone's speech, everyone's mind have become identical. And so resting with that attitude of appearances, sound, and mind as the body, speech, and mind of the deity. And again, the commentary says, free from fixation in a state of self-liberation beyond the intellect. In any case, resting in that, you begin to recite the mantra. Now, first this visualization is described during the lines which form the segue between the supplication and the mantra repetition. The liturgy says, through praying one-pointedly in that way, light rays are emitted by the body of the Bodhisattva, purifying impure karmic appearances and delusion or deluded cognition. The external environment becomes the realm of Sukhavati. Its inhabitants, all beings in body, speech, and mind, become the body, speech, and mind of Chenrezik. The inseparability of appearance from emptiness, sound emptiness, and awareness emptiness. So, clearly imagining what has been described and reciting that, you then begin to recite the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum while doing that visualization for the main body of the session.
Oh, 10 minutes. Ta Om Mani Padme Hum senata me do se do deba kinu je ngui sha so ta te ta bu ki yige to ba te la sanga yige to ban de ne sang ye kun ye Yeshe je to chik du du ba Papa Chenrezik Te Tugyedang Tene Samjeje Nidop Chigdo Dushin Chongwa Sangha Yige Tuban Dini Te Sam Papa Chenrezik Toge Chanab Tene Samjeje Dubekiranjita Amane Be Mehonshibe Yige Tubasre Tela Gabos Pagwe Yeshe Ngai Rangsal de Shawa Yontin Debe Yege something you part of the chamber tokenani something you part of the chamber ranking Nyoma Bangajaltang Najati Jebek Debo Jetang Shabato Lam Potong Don Yor Shabata Fly to ba one boy judging Godatin Yismeba Nyamani Hijiranda Zos Shawa Dodo Flow Pata Dembe Hindon dancing, Sanjay King Yonde, good Tabar Chapaos. They just a man Jangone, Puppet took ye, Doa Kona, Chamba Se, Meperan Sale, Sharwa, Tene Yege, Zob part of the Chimberangi, Yomo Batado Tang, Te Jepe. Devo Jetan, Chapato, Slami, Tato Jedonga, Yomar Chepa, Slami Je Topa, Tazan Rigi Kodan, Telen Ismeba, Chawatabi Yeshe Randang, Zok Sharwa, Dodo, Chang led up the wishing the dancing, Sanja Tonyo to be Kotabar Chepaos, Nesepone, Papi Tugi, Stormy. Quenchap chamber Ransal Shawa, Kosong to Yonsen Tele Kundi Yeshe Dorje, Kowa Yandeji Inso Ransal, Doku Yege, Tutum Je Parot Chamber Rangi Rangi, Yo Nindim Marik Tamata Tang. Te Japan Dabo Jetan, Chapa Mechagananche, the Honke, Cho Chambo Ye, Yomar Chepa, May Toba, Shaka Toba, Godatan, Yesameba, Ranjon Yeshe, Randa Zus Sharwa, Dodo, Ome Chain Nabata by Hindon dancing, Sanja Tuba Dojin Chang, Kotabar Chepa, Pain Tinane, Pain Thingane. Puppet took ye cholon meba, Tahim se meberanzale, Shava, go ye, Sharaj part of the Chimberangi, Junyomo. Demo Tang, take a bendevo jetan, Shabato, Tundo Lenko, Kojo Jedonhar, Yomar Sheba, Chorson ke Toba Singer of Zen, you got the tenant. Yes, Mepa, Chewing Yeshe Randa Zot Shawa, Dodo, which Topo Gope, Hinto, dancing, Sanja Namban Handi Kotabar Chepa, oh, Ma Marpone, Puppet Toge Kola, Nyampa, Gawa Seme Jeransale, Shawa Songi Yegi, Jemba Parad Chimberangi, John Docha. Sanatang, Te Japan Devil Jetang, Shabat Tekam, Yedaji Donhar Jomar Sheba, Yedaji Topa, Kala member Jikota Tenen, Yesameba, Soto Yeshe Randa Zos Shava, Dodo Nupjo Dewa Chenji Hingdon dancing, Sanjan Hawan Taiji, Go Tapar Sheba, oh, Hong Nabone, Papa Tuge. Dowa Kona, Potter, the Hingi Seme Ransal de Shava, Tugi Yegi, Thunder part of the Chimberangi, Junior the Sharanki, Japan Devil Jetan, Chepa Nyawa Sadang Donghar, Yomar Cheba, Nyawa Topa, Chuji Jabu Kodang, Tenen Yismeba, Melon Yeshe Randa Zos Shava, Dodo Gomba Gabe. Hingdon dancing, Sanja Mijo Bako Tabar, Chepa, Te Tabu, Koa Tonto, Tenet, Mebe, Totap Tamji, the Duba, Sanghaji Jabo, Yige to Bandini, Changing Oil Genu Dawarja, Tar Gibu Lame, Koya was Reki, State, Tabuki, get to what the Takare, Toto Jida, that service Jesula, Tara Gibu Lame, Koya was Reki, nothing. Tom J. Kunzang, Shinkam so Sarva Wood Shune, Lama Chenrezik Latin, Te Wood Shune Ranatim, Raya Wood Shune Dajin, Langasun Zembe, Horsam, Membik Be, Wasal Tomba, Yemi, Tonda, Metongi, Topen Seme, and Mikti Tamji Bangba. Nanda Riton, Yemebe, Taja Taji, Tava, Papato, Train, Chada Chimbu, Rangola, Geneso, Yamanjos.
Now, so you recite the 6-syllable mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, the principal mantra of Chenrezik, for the main body of the session. The text now turns to a syllable by syllable analysis of the mantra to explain why this mantra is called the best of mantras or the monarch among mantras, and so on. Briefly put, the reason is that everything we are trying to accomplish is accomplished by this mantra, and everything we are trying to get rid of is gotten rid of by this mantra. So therefore, it corresponds to every problem in samsara and to every attribute of or quality of Buddhahood. It is the power of the wisdom of all Buddhas in one. Why? Because Chenrezik is the embodiment of the wisdom of all Buddhas. And all of his compassion and activity and wisdom are contained within these 6 syllables. Therefore, it is his essence mantra because it contains and transmits or communicates his essence. The first of the 6 syllables is Om. This syllable is white in color. Among the 5 wisdoms, it arises from all 5. So it's the display of all 5 wisdoms together. Therefore, among body, speech, mind, qualities, and activity, the 5 attributes of a Buddha, because it is all 5 wisdoms, it is the syllable of qualities and represents or is all of the qualities of Chenrezik. Among the 6 perfections, in nature, it is the 5th, the perfection of meditation or meditative stability. It purifies the causal affliction of pride and all ripening of that, so all states of existence that are the result of pride, especially the state of a deva or god, which is afflicted by the sufferings of death and downfall. Devas think they're immortal, but then they're not, and they're really bummed out when they find out. Therefore, this syllable is inseparable from the form and activity of the Buddha or sage who appears in the realm of the devas or gods, who is called Indra among the five wisdoms individually, it is the appearance or the display of the wisdom of equality appearing as a syllable. Therefore, it leads beings of the six states to the southern pure realm. There are five main pure realms associated with the body of complete enjoyment. The southern pure realm, called the glorious, which is the pure realm of the Ratna or jewel family, and therefore enables beings to achieve the state of the Buddha Ratnasambhava, the Buddha of the Ratna family. The second of the six syllables, ma, is green. It embodies the activity from among body, speech, mind, qualities, and activity, the activity of Chenrezi, and therefore is the display of, from among the four immeasurables, his immeasurable love for all beings. In nature, from among the six perfections, it is the third, patience or tolerance. It purifies the causal klesha or affliction of jealousy and all that results from that, such as especially the rebirth as an asura or anti-god, and the suffering which characterizes that realm, which is constant warfare, constant unsuccessful warfare. It therefore takes the form of the sage or Buddha who appears in the Asura realm, whose name is Splendid Fabric. I don't know why. And is inseparable from his form and activity. He must have like really nice clothes or something. I don't know. So, among the five wisdoms, it is the appearance of the wisdom of accomplishment as a syllable, and therefore leads beings of the six states to the northern pure realm, perfect or complete activity, and enables beings to achieve the state of the Buddha Amoga Siddhi, the Buddha of the karma or action family. The third syllable, ni, is yellow. And it arises from the all-pervasive, effortless power of Chenrezi's compassion. It is the wisdom Vajra from among body Vajra, speech Vajra, mind Vajra, and wisdom Vajra that embodies all of body, speech, mind qualities and activity. It is the syllable which causes samsara to be reversed into the expanse, or undone into the expanse of nirvana. Of the six perfections, it is in nature the second, moral discipline, or shila. And it purifies the causal affliction of ignorance in its most fundamental sense of dualism, and all that results from that, and in particular, the state of being human, which is characterized by the four rivers of suffering: birth, aging, sickness, and death. It therefore is inseparable from the form and activity of the Buddha or sage of the human realm, Shakyamuni. It is the appearance of self-arisen wisdom beyond the five wisdoms as a syllable, and therefore leads beings of the six states not to one of the Sambhogakaya realms, but to Akanishta, the highest, the realm of the Dharmakaya, and enables beings to achieve the state of the sixth Buddha, the overlord of the 5 Buddha families, Vajradhara. The fourth syllable, pad or pe, is blue. It is the syllable of body, from among body, speech, mind, qualities, and activity, arisen as the display of Chenrezig's immeasurable impartiality from among the 4 immeasurables of love, compassion, joy, and impartiality. It corresponds to wisdom or knowledge, prajna, the 6th of the 6 perfections, and therefore purifies the causal affliction of bewilderment and all states that result from that, especially a rebirth as an animal and the resultant suffering from stupidity and coming under the malevolent control or malicious control of others. It therefore manifests, is inseparable from the form and activity of the Buddha or sage who appears in the realm of animals, who is called steadfast lion, and is the appearance as a syllable of the Dharmadhatu wisdom among the 5 wisdoms. It leads beings of the 6 states to rebirth in the central of the 5 pure realms, densely arrayed, the realm of the Buddha family, and enables beings to achieve the state of Vairocana, the Buddha of the Tathagata or Buddha family. The 5th syllable, me, is red. It is the syllable of speech, arisen as the display of the immeasurable joy of Chenrezig. Among the 6 perfections, it is of the nature of generosity, the first, and therefore purifies the causal afflictions of desire and stinginess and all states that result from those, in particular the state of a preta or hungry ghost, which is characterized by the sufferings of hunger and thirst. It is therefore inseparable from the body and activity of blazing mouth, the sage or Buddha of the preta realm, is the appearance of the wisdom of discernment or discrimination as a syllable, and liberates beings of the 6 states into the Western pure realm, Sukhavati, the realm of the Padma or lotus family, and thereby enables beings to achieve the state of the Buddha of that family, Amitabha. The final syllable is hum, which is black. It is the appearance as a syllable of the mind of Chenrezig, and is the natural display of, from among the 4 immeasurables, immeasurable compassion, his immeasurable compassion for all beings. Among the 6, wait a second. This one is prajna. The last one was generosity. Sherabji parut, dila sherab nido. Well, 2 of them get sherab. 2 of them get assigned as the perfection of wisdom. So something must be one of them. This sherab. Meme, chik this sherab. Parut, this zopa, marmema. This you get no do. The Palchen Roktan Jayala, Dampo. Om something.
Something.
Ma
Zoba.
ne zopa in Samariko. The money and not home this about.
Yes, you don't.
That can't last somewhere. Sundru. Mama, ma de zopa mare, Sundru. Didn't know though. You can know
Home thunder.
Home Sundru mare, home sherare. Mama, home zopare. The Shedangi Nyambora. Shedangi Nyambo zopare.
Oh, that's
Tela Nord.
okay. You can not that shoe yawning.
Oh, Nikita.
Nord.
Quran, not. Yeah, the correspondence between the six perfections here is odd. Usually, the shut up or wisdom is pad. Me is
But I'm you know him, but
pad up. Me then you check but both have the same thing. So we have to just say what it says. But somehow Sundru diligence gets left out. Usually diligence corresponds to ma, the green syllable which purifies the asura realm. But here, anyway, shut up gets repeated twice. So, hum purifies anger, and it says anger and dualism, and all that results from that, especially the rebirth in hell and the attendant sufferings of heat and cold. It therefore is inseparable from the body and activity of the sage or Buddha in the hell realms, who's called Dharma Raja, and is the appearance of the mirror-like wisdom as a syllable, liberates beings of the six states to the eastern pure realm of Abhirati, or manifestly joyous, and enables beings to achieve the state of the Buddha Akshobhya, the Buddha of the Vajra family. The point is that this six-syllable mantra contains within it all of the power of the immeasurable activity of all Buddhas, and in particular of Chenrezik, that empties samsara from its depths and frees beings from the six states. So, therefore, recite this six-syllable mantra for the main body of the session. At the end of the session, when you stop reciting the mantra, think that light radiates from the body of your guru in the form of Chenrezik above your head, and that it causes all appearances, the realm of Sukhavati and yourself and all beings, or all other beings actually, as Chenrezik, together with the Chenreziks above them, to melt into light, and all of them dissolve into the Guru Chenrezik above your head. He melts into light and dissolves into you, and then you, as Chenrezik, melt into light and disappear. At that point, let go of the thought of deity and mantra, and rest in the empty luminosity, which is your mind's natural condition, without any ideas of existence or non-existence, of your mind being this or not being that, without any concepts, Buddhist concepts such as empty or not empty, and without any kind of ideas or concepts about anything. So you're resting, as the text says, rest as evenly as you can in the experience of your own fundamental nature, which is the all-pervasive Dharma Dhatu, the mind of Chenrezik, beyond a viewer separate from a viewed object, and the inseparability of what you previously imagined, the inseparability of appearance emptiness, sound emptiness, and awareness emptiness.
Te Jesola, that subject Yiva, Ye Lam the Chevanes, that day Tabuge, Ganita, Gam Kase, Jatum Tabata, Yap Tadu Casala, that day Yesola, Lamcher Tela, that Gom Tele Ya, Dani, da Yinto, Namu Mobo, Sado Rata, La Soban Yunga, Nai, Come you duba, Tamchi. Papa toji hembe ko soga wambo simba doa semjen tang ma simba yongwe daki tamje papa song yige to make da tendo tamje papa to rezon to da chuku hilo so nyamban joba te do cha nyando na yo cholam Tamche la tamar je hendo pang ne cheso sum je tingin de ni ting se bar che la da yin le nam pa pe ko da da yi ge to bu da tendo yi hi chimbo long he jo nga wa ge wa sa wa chan chop de ho xin ma lam da pa ne te ta le gom de ji pe thong da da yu la yopeke geso nam semje samje la nyambanye de kwebe sonam je so lana me pandi tun yowa ni de da jene se wan sho de songbe kompa lana me ba tap na kha de nyam do chi ya ma le pa pha sho thu ye shin bo komba ta ye me be do bu chan chu tamba go ne ban to ba sho je nyambe gewan de yo do da kene se wan do junne do wa chi kya ma le pa te salang go ba sho she yin ya malam na ba ta ben samjur chin nu cha ho ta ka san
Bache de tata sache matsaga bado che sona.
ta ta me jo na go san cha da mang don don
Re sona.
Tētara mīkyō pērīk nām jī stā tāndā khōndu xio pēk gōmnim jēpā dāwā sē mīkyō pērīk nām jī sōmā rā kia sīm ngā xie pā xīn tāng sē tā tāmbō Gyamtso tā sīm jī khōndu xie pā sē tā tō lā sō tē kī jē sō lā ngū kī rāngi jī wō rō pā pā jēne sē ngō tō tāng tsāmbē kōi xio yō ñāmbē sōndib jī tā ngō yī tēlā tāng jī gōng tō kōrāng tāmbē kī pāpā jēne tī ngō tō tā tō lā kōi xio yō sāmbē mikpā lā sē jīg tō lō tīm nē sōndib kāshia tāng Lama jēne tī chēn nō sāmbā tāng yāng ām nē kō ngā Yeshe ngan dupe ki yeke stati ke yeken dodo chelan deba duba dabo chi jaung do am heba tene ko nge yeke ngan dupe ki yeke tang man nobo pema chin te man nobo pema chin te nobo pema chin heba te papa chene te kin hon dodo ke donga le chopan tepe tene ji nga so tetar ko dan Yeshe nga yi dani na ba pema jenje do ri to ke donga le chap the soul hyam be sande jinga ne yedo kin da thar thar ji ba lama chene zi ji ba chen bo shune rana tem rangi gyo la pakwe Yeshe xiao kyang nyamban damba tesang me bar cha xing yin hua
Lare mucho ne
la
sope.
yo yin hua tang malam che ye pa ho ne yongwe penyon nam tab nye be kuto tang dembe kwan ye nyamnen to che
De la shana.
la so
So that completes the third part, which was the supplication, and the repetition of mantra. And now we turn to the fourth part, which is the post-meditation practice of bringing the practice into one's daily life. So at this point, you have been meditating without concepts for as long as you can. When you arise from that state, you think that in an instant, all appearances, the appearance of your and others' bodies, and all inanimate things such as earth and stone and mountains and so forth, everything, all the appearances of the five elements appear as the body of Chenrezik. And that all sounds made by yourself and other living beings, the sounds of the inanimate elements and so forth, are all the melody of the six-syllable mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, and that all thoughts are the display of Chenrezik's mind, the unity of awareness, emptiness, the Dharmakaya beyond elaboration. And throughout your various activities, whether you're walking, standing, lying down, or sitting, whether you are engaged in conversation or silent, and no matter how busy you are, you try to let go of ordinary fixated thought on ordinary appearances and include in your every activity what is called this threefold bearing. Threefold bearing means the bearing of seeing all appearances as the body of the deity, all sound as the deity's mantra or speech, and all thought as the deity's mind or wisdom. So in order to prepare yourself to do that, at this point, before dedicating the virtue, you recite the 3 lines. The bodies of myself and others are the body of the Bodhisattva. All sound that is heard is the melody of the 6 syllables. All thoughts are the expanse of great wisdom. That brings us to the 5th part, which is the dedication of virtue, with which the session is concluded. This involves dedicating the goodness or virtue of the practice and also making aspirations. Think that whatever goodness or virtue has been created by your doing that meditation and reciting that mantra during that session, and represented by that all of the good that you have ever done, are doing, or will ever do, and that anyone else has ever done, is doing, or ever will do, that you dedicate all of this goodness, virtue, and all of this merit to the quick achievement of the Buddhahood, the state of Chenrezik. Your aspiration is that as quickly as possible, you achieve the state of Chenrezik, a state of Buddhahood equal to that of Chenrezik himself, so that as quickly as possible, you can thereafter bring all beings, without exception, to that same state of a perfect and unsurpassable awakening. With that in mind, you recite the first stanza of dedication. By this virtue, may I quickly accomplish the state of the mighty Chenrezik, or Avalokiteshvara, and establish each and every being without a single exception in that same state. And then customarily, you recite other stanzas of dedication and aspiration. Now, all of this may seem quite elaborate and complicated. For those who find all of the things to be imagined during the practice too much, it can be done in a slightly simpler way. The initial refuge in bodhicitta is the same as what was explained before. During the main body of the practice, you visualize Chenrezi above your head, as described earlier, and thinking he's there, whether the image is clear or not, you simply think that he is present above your head. And you supplicate, you pray to him one-pointedly as many times as you wish. And then you can recite the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, thinking of it as a prayer. Aside from breaking the 6 syllables down into their individual units, they do also form words, and those words can be seen as a prayer. You can think of it simply as appealing to Chenrezi, so saying, Guru, Chenrezi, hear me, or know me, or see me. But also, if you want to reflect on the meaning of the mantra, the initial syllable Om represents the complete 5 wisdoms of Buddhahood, and also the 5 bodies of Buddhahood. Mani, the second and third syllables, mean a jewel. And Padma means lotus. Padme, actually, it's vocative. So it's you're referring to Chenrezi as jewel lotus. Here it says Padme means the one with a lotus. You can also understand it that way. But the belo gijowa de yakshare, belo gijowa de taktare, de nobu pema chen la hum. So actually, the way that the lamas of our lineage have explained it is that it's Om to the one who has a jewel on a lotus, or to jewel lotus, using it as a nickname or epithet for Chenrezi, Hom. And what does that mean? Well, jewel lotus is a name for Chenrezi, and Hom, the injunction with which you end, or end the mantra, is an exhortation to Chenrezi to liberate all beings. So in that way, it forms prayer. You can simply break it down into 3 parts. Om being the body, the 5 bodies of all Buddhas. Mani Padme being Chenrezi's name. And Hum being the activity of the deity which liberates all beings of the 6 states from suffering. So in that way, you can think of it as, please, or I pray that you protect from suffering all beings of the 6 states, you with the jewel and a lotus who embody the 5 bodies and 5 wisdoms. And then in the same way, at the end of the session, you think that your guru in the form of Chenrezi melts into light and, delighted with you, dissolves into you, granting you his or their blessing. And to the extent that you have confidence in the actual presence of the deity above your head and in the actual dissolution of the deity into you, the benefits will be tremendous. And then you conclude with the dedication and aspiration as described. And if you do the practice, even in this somewhat simple manner, there is no question that the benefits that will be explained, which form part 6, the 6th topic of the text, will accrue. So for half... Says it's up to you. It's a nice day and it's sunny out. You want to stop now, or do you want half an hour for questions? We'll continue with the text tomorrow morning. That's true.
Would you mind just going over the last we pray that I want to just get your words. We pray that Chenrezik in the last part.
What it says in the commentary is the explanation of thinking of Om Mani Padme Hum as a prayer. You can think of it as, I pray that you, who embody the 5 bodies and 5 wisdoms, so that's Om, who have a jewel and a lotus, that's Mani Peme, protect all sentient beings of the 6 states from suffering, that's Hum.
Thank you.
So we're going to conclude now with the dedication and aspirations. Deya tamje zegba nye donne nyebe ranam bamje chega na che pala dromba sibe zole drova la sho
gewan de ye
chewo sunam yeshe
Sonam Yeshe le Jong Tamba Konye Tabara Sho Chanjo Semne Rinpoche Mache Panam Jeba Nyamba Meba Da Kone Kondom Bewara Sho Semje Tamje Dedan Nyandro Tamje Tato Tomba Sho Chanjo Semba Kanda Sai Tada
Kunja Malam Zamje Mejon Devo Sanghaj Si She Sondara Chabe Dai.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jum Pache Tsage Mare. Jum Chigna Tsage. Da Dana Katsu Joya.
That's how.
Tsage.